What's it like, being an English teacher in Korea?
I had just moved here. I was doing like a walkthrough of the Hagwon. I get there and I meet one of the staff members, and then she told me she was surprised because I didn't sound like a rapper.
Do you mind sharing like how much you get paid as an epic teacher?
I technically take home 2.3 million won a month.
Some teachers will earn 500,000 won more, others will be 500,000 less, and there's never an explanation.
Where are you from?
I'm from America.
Where in America are you from?
Like Washington, D.C. area. So Maryland, but most people don't know Maryland, so I just say D.C.
How long have you been in Korea?
Almost 3 years.
My name is Spencer Dong. I am a current native English teacher. I am from San Francisco, California, and currently I teach in a small rural town called Hwacheon.
Where are you from?
America, North Carolina.
How long have you been in Korea?
2.5 years, actually.
I am from Houston, Texas, originally.
And how long have you been in Korea?
I've been here a little over a year now.
I'm from Washington, D.C.
How long have you been in Korea?
2.5 years, almost 3 years, yeah.
So I'm Adam, I'm 26, I'm from the UK.
How long have you been living in Korea?
I've been here for over a year and 6 months.
What's it like, being an English teacher in Korea?
I actually really enjoy it. I think a lot of people, when you talk to different English teachers, they all have different experiences. I think I personally got really lucky, and I got really good students, really good coworkers, really good schools. So yeah, I really enjoy my job, actually.
So I will say being an English teacher in South Korea, I think is amazing because of all the benefits, and especially with transportation in Korea, and also the culture and the food and the people. But especially in terms of more teaching aspect, I think what's really neat is that Korea has a high value, and they put a lot of emphasis on English, on the language, because they know how global it is with music and with advertisements and with the power of it. And so it's neat to be a part of a culture that really prioritizes English. And these kids, I cannot say all of them, but there are definitely some that are very hungry to learn, because they know that if they learn English better and faster, that means there's more opportunities to live abroad, to work abroad, and to just be more culturally aware.
In general, I wanted to be a teacher. I want to be an art teacher. So I do love working with kids. So I wanted to work with kids. I don't mind it. I feel like you have to have a certain temperament to work with kids. So in general, working with kids, it's fine. It's just the parents, handling the parents. I feel like sometimes we're not allowed to discipline them like we would like to. And I feel like, again, it's that mentality a lot that their kid can do no wrong.
It's been cool. Honestly, I haven't had many big issues, but I have ran into my okay type moments, you know what I mean?
Could you possibly elaborate a little bit more on the okay type moments you just made mention?
Before I do that, I give this disclaimer, right? So I know a lot of the things that I experience may be because of people's lack of exposure, to black people and stuff like that. Regardless, I had just moved here, and I was doing a walkthrough of the Hagwon. I get there and I meet one of the staff members, and then she told me she was surprised because I didn't sound like a rapper. I was just like what? I have a beard, and so a lot of times the students are a bit weird with meeting me. You know what I mean? They kind of feel a little intimidated or something like that.
What do you do out here in Korea?
I actually teach at an international school.
What's it like being an international school teacher in Korea?
Now, it is busy work. I worked at a Hagwon before, so I understand both dynamics, but you have a different level of expertise that you have to have in order to make that transition. So it's a lot of work because you're teaching multiple subjects depending on which grade you're in. So since I'm in a younger grade, I teach multiple subjects throughout the day, and there's also many activities that you have to prepare for. So it's very time consuming. It's very rewarding though, because you get to meet such great students and their parents from all over.
What is the difference between teaching at an academy versus an international school?
I would say probably, the expectation of not perfection, but of quality education. They're there for a reason. They're at this private school for a reason, and they are looking to move up in their school to potentially go and live abroad and go to a university abroad. So we're really building that foundation of education, not just, the English language or language skills. It's literally every single topic that you could think of, from math to science, social studies, and government.
How did you get your job?
I just applied online. So originally I didn't actually want to come to Korea. I wanted to go back to China or Japan. but it was the midst of COVID, so it was very difficult to go to those countries, and Korea was the very easy option.
Can you quickly run us through the process?
Of Epic? Yeah, so I applied applied back at the end of 2020. It's like a several month long process, so it's a lot of different documentation and everything. You have to have a 4-year degree and just have like the good skills to be a teacher. You don't have to necessarily have teaching experience, but I think it's really good for people if they are interested in teaching and living abroad. I think it's the best way to go. A lot of people will apply for hagwon jobs, and I think that's great if you're really set on living in a specific location, but for me, I was kind of down to just experience anywhere in Korea, so I decided to just stick with public school.
So again, I went through this program called EPIC, so English Program in Korea, and it can be a very long process or it can be a very short process. It was a little bit longer for me just because I didn't go through a recruiter. So you can go through a recruiter and they will help you through every step of the way. I personally wanted to save a little bit of money and I wanted to challenge myself, and so I did the whole process pretty much by myself. Basically, as long as you have a bachelor's degree, bachelor's of art, bachelor's of science, you are eligible, or one more thing, and you have to be a native English speaker, obviously. If you satisfy those 2 requirements, you can pretty much apply for the program.
What would you say the difference is between teaching at an academy versus at a school as an English teacher in Korea?
First of all, if you're going to teach for hagwon, you're not going to get as much vacation days at all whatsoever. You're going to get paid more money, but you're not going to get as much vacation days. I remember when I first came here, it was 2021, and like COVID was like still like kind of hot at that time, and the public school system pretty much told me that I would come to Incheon, I would do my 2 weeks of my like quarantine, but then I won't know where I'm going to be like put until 2 weeks after. I'm like, bro, I'm going to be put in like a rice field somewhere. Like, I cannot do this. Like I need to have a barber. Like, so I said, okay, I'm going to do the hagwons, and it's much, much easier. It's more on a personal level. It's more recruiters and things like that. So yeah, I needed to be in the city so I could find a barber, bro.
As a teacher, how do you handle the kids' parents?
Well, at least at my school, we don't speak to the parents. The Korean teachers speak to the parents. So we don't really have interactions, but I mean, they communicate with us what the parents are saying. So.
And how do you handle, like kids that are problematic, like in your class as a teacher?
I do what I'm allowed to do, but most of the time, if they're problematic, they're just kind of allowed to be that way. Unless you have them for a while, then eventually they become used to you. They might listen to you more, but I feel like they're kind of just allowed to be that way.
What would you say the struggles are being a teacher here in South Korea?
I would say the struggles is being away from home. That's always the biggest thing. I'm really close to my family. I'm from the South, and we're a Southern family who are close-knit. So I would say that has been the biggest struggle. On top of just, like I said, the work culture, just in general in Korea, is very much work, work, work. Even if they do want you to have that break, there's that expectation, not just from myself, but also from parents. Like, you're teaching our students and we want them to have that best education. So when you're constantly working, you kind of have to say no to some things outside of, your workload, but sometimes saying no can be beneficial. But I would say those 2 are probably the biggest things.
Do you mind sharing like how much you get paid as an EPIC teacher?
Again, I applied as the base level. So basically the base level is if you just have an undergraduate degree and you're a native English speaker. So the base you're going to be getting is 2.1 million won per month. If you have more previous years of teaching from maybe a public school or private school, you can get another 1,000. If you have a master's degree in education or some type of, again, similarly related to education, you can get another 1 million. So the most that I knew personally from my orientation was someone was making starting was about 2.3, 2.4. And then a lot of people don't know this actually about EPIC, but I do want to share this. If you are actually in a rural school, so if you are not in a shi, if you are in a gun, so if your city says gun, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, you will actually make an extra 100 a month, because they know that since you are so rural, you have to travel a lot, you have to stay in hotels, you don't have subway lines. Like I said, I don't have a subway line. I have to travel a 45-minute bus ride just to get to the subway. Also, another fact that people don't know is if you have multiple schools, so if you are teaching at 2 or more schools, you will get an extra 100, basically Korean 1,000 won a month, which is really nice. So Being very transparent, I technically take home 2.3 million won a month, but I will say there is a lot of other things so I don't really take it and pocket 2.3 home. Obviously, there are other things like taxes and school lunches. So the school lunches are actually one of my favorite parts, but you have to pay for that too.
I've never personally found a time when my monthly salary has ever been equivalent to what it is on my contract. It's always a lot lower than it's supposed to be, and there's never really an explanation why. Some teachers will earn 500,000 won more a month, and then others will be 500,000 less, and there's never an explanation, and you don't really know why.
I guess it depends, because I've been at my same school for almost 3 years. Each year I get a bonus because I've stayed under the same contract. But I think Hagwon's, I guess it depends on location too, and like the area that you're teaching in. For me, since I don't teach in Seoul, I think I do get a little bit more pay because I don't live in Seoul and I have been here for a few years. But I think if you come at like an entry-level teaching job at a Hagwon, it might be a little bit less. But I guess I don't know. I guess it's different, but you do get benefits and stuff. So
You made mention earlier on that you thought in China and also Japan. How is teaching in English in those countries compared to Korea?
So I worked in China. I didn't work in Japan. It was one of the options I wanted to go to. China, you had a lot more holidays. So where I work, you don't actually get any holidays. You don't get red days, which is something that you obviously want as a foreigner when you come to a foreign country. You want to be able to work, earn money, have a good living, and also be able to travel the country, which you don't always have a lot of time to do. I had a lot of that in China. I don't have a lot of that in Korea, and that's the big difference, really.
Why did you choose Korea?
So I think the reason a lot of people choose Korea is because, for one, it has the most benefits when it comes to teaching abroad. Korea and Japan, I think, are usually like the most popular destinations to go to because they pay for your housing, they help with your flight and everything. Another reason, so the area that I'm from in America, there's actually a lot of diversity and a lot of different Asian Americans. So my last job, I actually worked with a lot of Korean Americans. So I had a bit more understanding of the culture and the food and everything like that. Also the music, of course. But I felt that I would feel most comfortable if I went to Korea, what was between Korea and Japan originally. And yeah, Korea is also a really safe country and it has a good relationship with the US. So I felt this would be a good place to go. But I don't know, I might go to a different country next, so we'll see.
Actually, Japan was my first choice. I was applying to schools, and I got hired at a school in Saitama. It's like a prefecture right outside of Tokyo. And they wanted me to start in like December. Now, at this time when I was applying, it was maybe February or March, I don't remember. And I'm like, hell no, it's taking too long. My mom suggested, bro, just look up Korea. I'm like, all right, I guess, because I didn't really care too much about Korea, honestly. I just, my mom like watching K-dramas. I applied, and like the first school I applied to, they hired me. I was like, well, look like I'm going to Korea. I'm going to Korea. So yeah, it just happened like that, and I loved it, yeah.
What are some things you need to know before coming out here?
Okay, one of the most important things, I think, if you don't like kids, do not teach kids. And I feel like a lot of people just, I mean, they want to come to Korea, okay, but if you don't like kids, you don't need to be anywhere near them. Because again, it goes back to temperament. You have to have a lot of patience. You'll learn how to deal with problematic kids, but it's not good to just lash out at them, even though sometimes you want to. But you just have to learn how to handle kids. And it's also harder because it's not their first language. So sometimes your words may not be as impactful if they don't understand.
I would say definitely do your research. I think that's the biggest thing that people see, like, oh, this person's having a great time. However, you also have to realize that not only is your living situation a factor, but your own personality is a factor, as well as the school that you're looking into. So you really have to do your research and make sure that it is a valid school. You have to look on those platforms, those job boards that have like the blacklist schools. You really have to do your research and really ask yourself, do you genuinely want to be away from your home for a long period of time working these hours? That's the best thing. And is your mental okay? You must be okay with you before you leave your country and come here.